The truth about Ozempic that doctors aren't telling you. Have you or someone you know started taking Ozempic or Trulicity for weight loss, but is unseeing results? Or maybe you want to start Ozempic, but have heard horror stories of people getting on it and not losing a single pound. I'm a family physician with over 20 years of clinical experience. And today, I'm going to tell you the truth about Ozempic and Wegovy, so you can decide if starting this medication is right for you. Now, before we get into the truth, let me first tell you what your doctor is probably telling you about Ozempic. Ozempic, which is semaglutide 0.25 milligrams once a week, and Wegovy is semaglutide 2.4 milligrams once a week. Both are made by the same pharmaceutical company, Novo Nordisk. They are both in the same class of medications called glucagon-like peptide-1 receptor agonists. Now, that's a mouthful. So they're GLP-1 receptor agonists, and when used for the indication of type 2 diabetes, Ozempic and Wegovy are the exact same medication. The only difference between them is the dose. Wegovy has 264 more medication in each dose than Ozempic has. But for all practical purposes, these are the same medication. Novo Nordisk wanted to get the FDA to approve Wegovy for weight loss as well as for type 2 diabetes. But because the FDA is really cracking down on who they will approve medications for, and they would only approve Wegovy for people with an index of body mass greater than 30, or an index of body mass greater than 27 with at least one weight-related comorbidity like high blood pressure, sleep apnea, etc. So that meant if you had a BMI of less than 27, you couldn't get Wegovy from your doctor, even if you had insurance that covered it. Because of this, Novo Nordisk lobbied the FDA, and they were able to convince the FDA to approve the exact same medication for people with a BMI greater than 27, with the brand name Ozempic. It was still the same medication, just now approved for a different indication. So the same molecule, semaglutide, now being sold under two different brand names. In the United States, Ozempic and Wegovy are covered by most insurance plans. However, the copay for Wegovy is significantly lower than the copay for Ozempic. There are ways around this, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. Now, why does any of that matter? Well, stay with me, because I'm going to tell you why. Now that you know what Ozempic is and how it relates to Wegovy, let us talk about what your doctor is probably telling you about how it works and the results you can expect. Your doctor is probably telling you that Ozempic and Wegovy increase the feeling of fullness after you eat and decrease your appetite, and that is true. This medication slows gastric emptying, so food stays in your stomach longer and increases the feeling of fullness from that meal for longer. It also crosses the blood-brain barrier and suppresses appetite by acting on receptors in the hypothalamus in the brain. Now, what your doctor may not be telling you is that those two things, suppressing appetite and slowing gastric emptying, are the only two things that this medication does. There are no other physiological effects that this medication has that leads to weight loss. When it suppresses appetite, it does so very mildly. In the clinical trials, patients reported a mild decrease in appetite for the first couple of weeks of starting semaglutide, but then their appetite returned to baseline. It does not lead to a sustained, constant decrease in appetite like some people think it does. When semaglutide slows gastric emptying, it does so slowly and gradually over time. In the clinical trials, it took anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks to see a slowing effect on gastric emptying. Semaglutide does not speed up your metabolism. There is no evidence anywhere that semaglutide speeds up your resting metabolic rate or the amount of calories you burn while exercising. Some people have claimed this, but there is no scientific evidence to support this claim. Semaglutide does not preferentially target fat cells for destruction. There is no evidence that semaglutide targets fat cells for destruction. Semaglutide does not increase the amount of ketones in your body. There is no evidence that semaglutide alters ketone production. So, what does this mean to you? If the only way that semaglutide leads to weight loss is by decreasing appetite and slowing gastric emptying, then the success of your weight loss while on semaglutide depends entirely on whether or not you eat fewer calories per day than you burn. As the semaglutide suppresses your appetite and slows gastric emptying, you will likely feel full faster when you eat and won't have as much appetite between meals. But that doesn't mean that you will automatically start losing weight. For you to lose weight, you still have to consume fewer calories per day than you burn. And this is where the truth comes in. The truth is that semaglutide only leads to mild and gradual weight loss. The average person on semaglutide loses somewhere between 1 to 2 pounds per week. Now, that sounds great until you realize that most of that weight loss is water weight. Only about 1/3 of the weight you lose on semaglutide is actual fat. The rest is water weight. And that water weight can easily be regained if you stop taking the medication or miss doses. If you are insulin resistant, semaglutide can help improve insulin sensitivity. But this improvement in insulin sensitivity leads to a decrease in visceral fat, which is the fat that surrounds your organs and is very dangerous to your health. But it also leads to an increase in lean muscle mass, which is why you may actually gain a pound or two in the first few weeks of starting semaglutide. This is especially true if you exercise while on semaglutide. The lean muscle mass will quickly add up to several pounds, but that's not fat, and it's not bad at all. The biggest side effect of semaglutide is nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and constipation. These typically happen within the first few weeks of starting semaglutide, and usually go away after your body adjusts to it. However, if you're having more than 1 or 2 episodes of vomiting per week, please contact your doctor. This could be a sign of something called pyloric stenosis. Pyloric stenosis occurs when the semaglutide causes the pylorus, which is the little valve that connects your stomach to your small intestine, to spasm and tighten. This can cause a buildup of stomach acid and gastric contents behind the spasm. And when it gets bad enough, the only treatment is surgery to cut the spasm and open that valve back up. Thankfully, this is rare. And once you finish the dose that you're on, the symptoms go away very rapidly. But it's something that you need to be aware of. There is absolutely nothing magical about this medication. Its effect on weight loss is very mild, and it is completely dependent on you eating fewer calories than you burn. There is no magic bullet in medicine. There never has been, and there never will be. If you're looking for a magic bullet for weight loss, keep looking. You're not going to find it. However, if you're trying to make some positive lifestyle changes, and you want a little help from a medication to get over the hump, then semaglutide might be a good choice for you. Just don't expect too much out of it. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something, please give it a like. And if you know somebody who could benefit from semaglutide or Ozempic, please consider sharing this video with them. This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you next time.